YouTube? It's Teamironman here with this is going to be our first rulings. Basically, we're going to show how some cards work, how some cards don't work, and what rulings you should look out for, which you could be cheated on. First things first, obviously I'll show you the rulings on mandatory effects and non-mandatory. As you see here, I'm sorry, this shouldn't be here. As you see, you have Galahad grade 1, Galahad grade 1 in the rear, and Marin in the rear. First things first, look at Galahad's effect. At the beginning of the ride phase, you look at the 5 cards. Top cards, look for the grade 2 Galahad. Obviously, it does not say you may. It says at the beginning of your ride phase, look at the 5 top cards in the deck, comma, blank, blank, etc., comma, etc., period. So in the whole sentence, the commas, I mean, it's a whole sentence. So in the whole thing, it doesn't say anything about may or can. The whole thing is mandatory, making it mandatory in effect. So if your opponent does not activate the effect, and if he just rides without activating the top 5 cards in the deck and stack it back down to the bottom, he is cheating you. I mean, he's not technically cheating you. He probably just does not know. But it's a mandatory effect that does change the game state a lot. So, as an example, top 5 cards in the deck. Let's look. This is 6. I'm sorry. Oh, look at that. You get the grade 2. So you have to write it. It's mandatory. Bang! Now, these two... Actually, I'm going to send this back the same way it is. Draw trigger, grade 1, grade. I'll send that back to the bottom of the deck. Wha-bang. Alright, look at that. Now you have the grade 2. So, after that happens, now you can officially ride over it after the effect kicks in. This game does not lose timing, so after you activate this effect, that is when you can normally ride your own. I'm sorry. You miss your ride phase, actually, I'm sorry. When you activate his effect, you basically miss it unless you don't complete the official ride chain. Say for instance, if I didn't get the grade 2 off him, I would have to ride a different grade 2, as in my blaster blade. If I didn't get the grade 2 within the 5 cards that I looked on top with. So, in fact, I did find the grade 2, so I have to ride it, making it impossible for me to ride another grade 2. But if I did not see the grade 2 on top of the 5 cards on the deck, then I would have to ride a grade 2 for my hand, which would be Blaster Blade. But, obviously, I found the grade 2 in my hand, so I have to ride it. Now, the thing that makes this tricky is the fact that maybe your opponent sees the grade 2 in his hand, but he just doesn't want to ride it. I know it'll be foolish. Why wouldn't anyone want to get a free ride? But who knows? Maybe your opponent might want to ride a different grade 2. So this is the part where I'm confused about, is that because your opponent can't see the top 5 cards that you look through. I mean, that's stupid. Your opponent should be able to make sure that your opponent is not cheating you. Just the fact that your opponent has no choice to look for the grade 2. I wish Bushi could fix that, but at the moment he can't. The judges that explained it to me didn't explain it thorough enough. They just said you have to hope you have to hope that your opponent isn't lying to you. But then again, they said that situation will probably never come up. That situation can come up. Like I said, like I said, if it's a better play, yes, I would not want to ride this grade 2. I would rather ride a Blaster Blade to activate the effect to retire anything on my opponent's rears, any grade level at all. It will be better, but like I said, most people would go for a free ride. Now for the grade 3. Well, this deck I don't play the grade 3 Galahad. The only grade 3s I play in here is the Alfred, Palamedes, and Soul Saver. So pretend this is my hand right now at the moment. This is my hand. I have Soul Saver. No, I'm sorry. I have Palamedes, SP Alfred, and Pendragon and Blaster Blade. So this is my hand at the moment. It's my turn now. My ride phase. This effect kicks in. It's mandatory. I have no choice. It says I have to look at the top 5 cards of the deck and look for the grade 3. Obviously, I do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nope, not there. I'll actually send it back the same way it is stacked. So, since I don't have the grade 3, now I could write my own grade 3 in my hand, which would be Alfred. Obviously, you would choose Alfred over the grade 3 Galahad. The grade 3 Galahad sucks so much. Now, say if I was playing the grade 3 Galahad, and I had Alfred in hand. If I had a choice, this is just a scenario which I'm putting myself at. If I had a Galahad, and if I had the grade 3 Galahad in that 5 card stack, I wouldn't ride it, in all honesty. I would rather ride Alfred, no matter what. Alfred's 10 times better than the grade 3 Galahad, even though it's a free ride. So, that's what I explained to the judge in the New Jersey Addison qualifiers. So, what I'm trying to say is, this effect is mandatory, but your opponent cannot confirm that you missed that the cards are in the top 5. Like, the cards that you need to superior ride in, which is mandatory, are not in the top 5. So, like I said, imagine if the 5 cards at the top of the deck was the grade 3 Galahad. I don't get to show you what the five cards are. I keep that to myself. It would be better if Bushiroad said that you and your opponent look at the top 5 cards. If the grade 3 is there, if the grade 3 if the Galahad 1, 2, or 3 is there, write it. But no, unfortunately, it doesn't say that. So at the moment, when the Galahads, when they activate the effect to look for the top 5 cards, only your opponent could see. It's stupid because, like I said, your opponent could just cheat and get away with it. Because, like I said, if I did have the grade 3 Galahad stacked on top, in the top 5 cards, and I would look through it, I wouldn't ride it. I would just put it in the bottom of the deck and then ride the Alfred instead. But, I don't know, maybe that scenario might never come up. Maybe it could happen to you. That's one thing that I want Bushiroad to fix at the moment. Because, like I said, without confirmation, a lot of people could cheat in this game, depending who they are, but hopefully they don't cheat you. So yeah, so that's one of the most mandatory effects. It's just like Tsukiyomi, actually. Tsukiyomi, the grade 1 and 2, it is the same thing. They're both mandatory effects to search out for the grade 1, 2, or 3. It's all mandatory. You cannot skip it. If you do skip it, it should be a game warning. But like I said, it changes the game completely. If you skip the effect, it does change the game completely, making it a mandatory effect. Now, for other cards, let's say move this back, Blasted Blade. His effect is mandatory. Basically, his effect says when his card's placed in the rear, if you have a Royal Paladin Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose an opponent's grade 2 or greater rear guard and retire it. So, with that saying, you may pay the cost, meaning that this effect is optional. This effect is not mandatory at all. But as soon as you pay the cost of the effect, you must finish it. So, as for Blasted Blade, he's an optional effect, unlike Galahad. Galahad is mandatory. Blasted Blade is just an optional effect. Now, one card that I'm debating on, which I'm actually really confused about, is Pendragon. Living Break 4. At the beginning of your ride phase, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Search up to 1 grade 3 Royal Paladin among them and ride it and shuffle your deck. Now, this card's confusing because it doesn't say in the beginning you may look at the top 5 cards. It just says, Living Break, this ability is active if you have 4 or more damage. So as soon as you have 4 or more damage, this effect automatically activates. It says, at the beginning of your ride phase, look at the top 5 cards from your deck. Search up to 1 grade 3 Royal Paladin. Now that's where most people and myself are confused about. It says search up to 1 grade 3. So technically it doesn't say you have to write it. It just says search up to 1 grade 3. So technically you don't have to write it. Say if he was my starting Vanguard, and obviously I have 4 damage, pretend I have 4 damage right there. His effect activates. His effect basically says, look at the top 5 cards. If it's a grade 3, write it. If not, don't write it. What if I have these 5? Say I want to keep Pendragon. I don't want to write a grade 3. That's the other thing where your opponent could cheat you at. He could have a grade 3 that he doesn't want to ride and just say, nope, no grade 3, shuffle it back. Thing is, your opponent has no way to confirm that there's no grade 3 in those 5 cards. So, like I said before, Bushiroad should definitely change that as soon as possible to make confirmation. Because, like I said, people in this card game can get away with a lot of things because of mandatory effects and optional effects. Pendragon, I am not sure if it's an optional or mandatory effect, so please comment in the bottom or anything saying if it is an optional effect or not, so you can let me know ahead of time. And yeah, well, past 10 minutes. Well, this is our first ruling video, and we'll have more later on. Later, YouTube.